Good morning, my dear students. This is the fourth class of the plant protection. Today we are going to continue with the second part of insect pest of rice. So we can commence our today's lecture with the insect pest rice thrips. The rice thrips, entomologically called Stenchiatothrips biformis. This belongs to order Thysanoptera, family Thripidae. This is the pest can infest the rice crop immediately after the germination until the harvesting of the crop. Therefore, it's a very dangerous pest. So it can inflict the damage any crop stages if the conditions are suitable for breed and multiply. So normally you can expect the thrips attack when the paddy is growing under the dry condition. So very dry, hot conditions. These can attack more than the humid conditions. So for the population development, dry weather favors. That's how nowadays the increasing world environmental temperature can boost these thrips and the mites. So most probably this attack can happen in the dry seasons because onset of the rainfall, farmers will start to prepare their nurseries. At the time, the farmers should be very careful and they have to monitor carefully if there is an incidences are there or not. At the time of just immature stages, normally we can expect another dry spell. So at the time also it can attack. If attacked at then the grain filling stage, right? The dough stage it is attacked at or milky stage attacked, grain filling stages will be affected. So therefore they have to be very careful on this pest and regular monitoring is very important. So how you can identify these thrips? So normally the thrips life cycle is completed in 4 stages: eggs, larva, pupa, and adult. Right? So normally females lays eggs on the leaves near the tip region or the below the tip. So the back side of the leaves is a transparent as a group. They are laying eggs as a group, and from that egg, larva will be emerged. This is we call it as an in between the hollow and incomplete metamorphosis. In between, because it looked like a hemimetamorphosis, but it can produce the pupa too. That is the in between this one. So larva, the first insta is a transparent or creamy yellowish one. It turns to yellowish or dull yellowish color when they molt from second, third insta. So in the pupal stage, you can expect the wing pad. As a pupa is immobile stage. It's look like the larva, but only the difference is you can expect the wing pads and it will unmobile. And the adults are the mobile ones is a brownish to blackish color. So special identification character of this pest is you can easily identify by fringe wing. That's how the special identification of thrips. So what are the symptoms you can expect? So leaf shows discoloration and rolling. That's how in the due time you can expect more incidents of white tips of the paddy fields. So our farmers in Tamil terms, they are calling it as panipuchi something. Because if the due times and dry condition in the day, so you can expect that the yellowish marring and rolling of leaves. Silvery leaf streaks can expect the young seedling stages. It's another special identification character. When you are preparing the nursery, you are maintaining the nursery. If you are observing the silvery streaks, it's chances of thrips attack. How you can, it's a very minute insect. You can easily identify this whether it is present or not by wetting the cloth and just move this wetted cloth over the leaves, then you can find it if the thrips is there or not by attaching those thrips in the wetted cloths. The terminal rolling, right? Terminal rolling. The leaf tips wither off, drying off of the leaves. and unfilled panicles. These are the identification of the damages. Damages you can easily identify by these symptoms. You see that the picture shows how this infested nursery will be there. So another pest, important sucking pest, is the brown plant hopper. We call it as a Nilopavata lugen entomologically. So Hemiptera belongs to family Delphasidae. Nilopavata lugen. So sporadic pests you can expect in few isolated. Nowadays in Sri Lanka, in Ambara districts and Matara district, part of Matara district are highly being affected by this brown plant hopper. In the last season also in the Ambara district, highly affected by brown plant hopper. But it is okay here and there infrequently in the dry zones of Sri Lanka too. The description of the pest, if you are seeing that commonly this pest you can expect that the rain-fed and irrigated wetland environment, if the plant is densely planted rice crops, so nymphs and adults, the both can inflict the damages, right? Another reasons for the high pest buildup, you can see from here, the temperature, the mild temperature mean hot, humid, right? Hot, humid conditions, 29 degrees Celsius, RH of high 89 to 90% will help to build up this pest. And also cultivation of the susceptible rice varieties continuously as a monocropping. Higher nitrogen dosage of fertilizers, dense planting, and indiscriminate use of pesticides to control other insects can boost the buildup and breed of this Nilopavata lugen. Therefore, the farmers should be very careful. But most of the farmers, their target is to produce high profit. Therefore, they are continuously cultivating the same selected varieties more than 2 seasons in Ambara and Batticaloa districts. That's how the chances of high incidences. How you can identify? So normally females are laying eggs. The eggs are arranged like a banana bunch, right? Transparent banana bunch. From this, you can easily identify whether this pest is there or not. So from these eggs, you can expect the nymphs. So wingless adult of the wingless adult, wings and the reproductive parts you cannot expect. So this, and so hopper, so it's a group of hoppers. This is an adult, right? Adultish brownish color. That's what we call it as brown plant hopper. This brown plant hopper, if it is attacked, the symptoms, so you can expect that like a patchy burning, round patchy burning of your field, heavily infested. Why? So while they are sucking the sap, they are injecting the toxic saliva into the plant. This toxic saliva can cause burning of the disease, burning of these yellowing and burning of these leaves. That's how the patches infested area is look like the burned area. So while they are sucking the sap, they are also transmitting the viruses, especially grassy stunt virus, ragged stunt virus, wilted stunt diseases of the rice. Therefore, they have to be very careful to whether the pest, if it is incidenced, if your field is incidenced by the brown plant hopper, then chances of more loss, right? So these are the special symptoms of the brown plant hopper. So the brown plant hopper, so conditions we are creating, only it can build up as a major pest. Normally the brown plant hopper is sucking the sap from the where the water level of your crop. If the water level is at the internodal stages, it can suck the sap from internode. If it is fully filled, if it is plant is fully immersed, then brown plant hoppers cannot attack. So we will discuss later how you can manage by using the water management, this brown plant. Right. The next insect is the rice earhead bugs. Rice earhead bugs we call it as an Leptocoryza oratorius. Earlier it is called as a Leptocoryza acuta. Nowadays it has been named newly Leptocoryza oratorius. Belongs to order Hemiptera, family Coridae. It's a Hemiptera, earlier brown plant hopper. So you studied brown plant hopper belongs to Delphasidae. This one is also same family order, but belongs to same order. The family is different. Coridae. That is Delphasidae. This is Horidae. Right? So this bug can also able to suck the sap from the grains. So economically important part of the rice is get damaged. Therefore, we have to be very careful. These incidences, these bugs incidents occur infrequently. Here and there only you can expect, right? So normally these bugs attacks at the milky stages of the rice. So at the milky stages, normally you can expect. So these semi-solid nature, so they can easily suck the milk from these grains. If they are sucking the milk from the grains, so the individual grains will become a chaff, not filled. And also you can expect the puncture marks as a brownish to black. So this is also reduces the quality export or market quality of the rice. Adults and nymphs are damaging stages. Normally females lays eggs as a group just below the leaves or very closer to the sheath, right? So this is, you can expect that how long it will take to complete the life cycle, how many eggs are laid by the females. So normally female lays 24 to 30 eggs as a row, right? As a row. Initially it's yellowish color, it's turned to brownish color. So when it is going to catch from the nymphs, so nymphs are wingless one, nymphs and adults are more or less similar. So wing and adults both will damage. But incidences in Sri Lanka is, compared to the many pests, it's less. So the eggs, nymphs and adults, this is an identification character. Especially you can identify the eggs. Sometimes you can confuse with another bugs, assassin bug, that is predator. This is pest. So they have to be very careful. You have to identify very carefully. So adults are greenish yellow colors. The assassin bug is most probably brownish color, fully brownish color. That's a predator one. And you have to be very color. In your field, if it is attacked, so these are the symptoms you can expect. The individual grains become shriveled and chaff and bucky odors. So normally these adults can emitting the nasty odors while when you are touching, because to escape from these enemies, they are having these repellents mechanisms, repellent secretions. Therefore, the bucky odors you can expect, right? Bucky odors you can expect. So that is the reason. So you can expect this type of odor. And the brown spots you can also expect, right? Brown spots you can also expect when the brown spots. So where is the puncture marks? No, is an entry port for the fungi, saprophytic fungi. Therefore, you can expect these grains will become a blackish color if the rains happen. Okay? So lower grain quality. It has estimated that it can cause up to 5 to 50% if the management is not, or monitor is not taken properly, right? So therefore we have to be very careful. This pest we call as potential pest. If the management or monitoring is not happened properly, they can have evolved as an economically important pest. Otherwise These are not much causing the damage. But in this pest, you have to be very careful because it's reducing the quality, because it's an economically important part is targeted. Another type of insect pest, we call it as a hoppers. There are 3 or 4 hoppers, and each and every hoppers having the different species. For example, if you are taking the green leaf hoppers, there are 3 species, subspecies, right? So Nyphotetrix virescens. So this is Cicadelidae. Brown plant hopper, same order, right? Brown plant hopper, same order, belongs to Hemiptera, right? Brown plant hopper is Delphasidae family. Another earhead bug belongs to Coridae. This one belongs to Cicadelidae. So Delphasidae, Coridae, Cicadelidae, all are sucking the sap, sapping insects. So we have to be very careful to easily differentiate based on this morphologically and family, right? We have to be very cautious on these family names, right? So nymphs and adults are attacking. It's a greenish color with black marks. Eggs are transparent. It's arranged as a banana bunches. It's a nymph, an adult. So green leaf hoppers. Another green leaf hoppers, they are Nyphotetrix nigropectus. You see the nymph's color and the adult color, how it is differ. The here adults are same, the nymph is different. You see nymphs. Nyphotetrix nigropectus. So green colors, different species, right? Another one is there, Nyphotetrix malayanus. This is not present in Sri Lanka. This is present in India. Malayanus, you see, it's a fully greenish. And the Nyphotetrix cincticeps is there, another one. So slightly brownish markings are there. So 3 species are present in Sri Lanka. This is not present in Sri Lanka. More than 4 or 5 species are there. This all belongs to green leaf hoppers, right? Green leaf hoppers. In the hoppers, the nymphs and, because it's a hemimetamorphosis, nymphs and adults are the damaging stages. You have to be very careful. They are sucking the saps. Another group is there, zigzag hoppers. Earlier we studied green leaf hoppers. This is zigzag hoppers. You see markings are like zigzag. Resilia dorsalis belongs to Cicadelidae, same family of the leaf hoppers, Cicadelidae, hemipterans. So nymphs are very transparent. So another one is the white leaf hoppers, Cophonus spectra, the same family, Cicadelidae. You see this adult and this adult and then green leaf adults. Color, based on the color also you are differentiated, but the species identification is a little bit difficult. But the different leaf hoppers you can easily identify morphologically based on the color of the wings and the thorax. Olas, another one is there, the orange head leaf hoppers. You see heads are orange, it's a greenish color. Same family, Cicadelidae, right? The Cicadelidae, Thaya oricivora. We call it as Thaya oricivora, the green leaf. These green leaf hoppers, zigzag hoppers, white leaf hoppers, orange head leaf hoppers, these all are transmitting the viruses while feeding. Therefore, we have to be very cautious. But this is if the rice plant is not growing much faster, showing yellowish symptoms, if you are applying all the fertilizers at the recommended dosage, still you are finding that your field is like the yellowish marks, leaf tipping, leaf tips yellowing, and a stunted growth or patchy stunted growth. These are the observations. So you have to be very careful. You have to go closely and monitor. Is there any hoppers are there? Because this is a symptom of the viruses. The viruses is present, then there is a more chances of these hoppers present. Definitely will be there, right? So direct infest, direct damages are less, but the transmitting virus is a problem of these leaf hoppers. Symptoms, these are the symptoms. This is due to the viral attacks, right? Yellowing of leaves from the tip downwards, and vector of the disease for Tungro virus, yellow, transmitting yellow spot fever, different viruses. Retarded, vigorous, and stunted growth. Sometimes your paddy field look like the grass field, will not grow much, and stunted. So drying up of plant due to sucking of the sap. This is the direct damages of the virus. Sorry, the leaf hoppers. Others are not direct damage. This is the direct damage, but these incidences will be less. But if it is happened, transmitting virus and other things is happened, then you can expect a severe yield losses. This is the leaf hoppers. Another insect pest of the rice is the grasshoppers, longhorn grasshoppers, and the short-corn grasshoppers, Hieroglyphus banyan and Oxia nitidula. These are belongs to Orthoptera. So you have studied the belongs to insect pest belongs to Lepidoptera, Hemiptera, Orthoptera. Right? You will study again another pest from the Lepidoptera, Thysanoptera. Right? So these pest orders you have to be remember. Otherwise, you will forget the pest names. If you are identifying and able to classify the pest according to the order wise and family wise, it will be very good. Right? Another, this an identification character of this pest is very important, and also damages of this pest is very less in Sri Lanka. 1 or 2 attacks here and there. If the temperature is high, and after the high temperature, if you are expecting the rain, then chances of this pest attacks. Otherwise, there will not be a problem, right? Otherwise, there will not be a problem of this pest. So Hieroglyphus banyan identification character is a half-inch length greenish layer with the transverse back lines of the above pronotum, the thorax. Identification of the adult characters. Another insect pest are there, spiny beetle or Hispa beetle, Decladespa armigira. It's a Coleoptera. You see, it's a Coleoptera also you are studying. Chrysomelidae. Family belongs to Chrysomelidae. Specific identification, you can easily identify by based on the name. Spiny beetle mean, so adults are brown, the blackish to bluish black color, the shiny metal, and also consisting spines like the beetles. That's what we call it as a spiny beetle or Hispa beetle. So this is Coleopteran, so they are females are laying eggs. From this one you can expect the young one, young larva. So we call it as sometimes grubs in Coleopteran. Grubs and adults are damaging stages. They are scrubbing the leaves and eating the green content. That's how you can expect the stretch marks here and there, white stretch marks. This is also attacking mostly in the nurseries. This incident is there in Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu district here, not much in other districts, which has been reported, not in Jaffna much, in Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu, but it is not causing major threats, not causing the major threat. We call it as a Hispa beetle. If the incidents happen, the paddy field is look like, you see, it will confuse the farmers whether it is a thrips attack, or there's a leaf folder attack, or the Hispa attack. So because all these things are causing the similar symptoms, right? Most probably similar symptoms. So close monitoring and identification of these live insect is an important to take remedial actions. Otherwise, with the suspicion, you cannot take decisions. The eggs and larval and adult description. So you can easily identify the adult, right, with the blue to bluish black color with spines on the elytra. Spines on the elytra. It's a wing of an Coleoptera, right? Elytra. Larvas are whitish yellow, grubs, flattened. Yes, the flattened grubs here. You can find the grubs here. Another insect is there, mealybugs, Pseudococcus saccharicola. So sometimes another names will be there, but you can maintain Pseudococcus saccharicola. This earlier the new names I also propose on, but the species differentiations are there and here to 100 to country. But you can remember the Pseudococcus saccharicola as a mealybugs is not much problem in Sri Lanka. So if the dense plant, if your plant is densely planted, then there's a chances for attack. If you are identifying these insects, these are egg masses and crawlers. So most probably they are in the sheath or in the sheath. If you are observing that one, your field is look like this, you have to be go closer and you have to observe very carefully, right? These are also causing the damages. We call these all pests are called minor pests. The symptoms, right? The sheath region, you can find large numbers of crawlers and adults and even egg masses. They are covered with a white, the cottony, waxy excretions. That's how they are difficult to manage by using the insecticides. Insecticide cannot penetrate insides. Your plant will become a big weak because of continuous sucking the saps, lot as a bulk insects sucking. And yellowish, very standard circular patches is more or less similar to the leafhoppers attack. So if you are going there, you can find and you can identify. And another insect group is there, not the insect group, another pest, mite, belongs to Acarina. Tetranychidae family, we call it as a paddy leaf mite. Last year or a couple of years back, it was considered as a emerging pest in Sri Lanka too. That's how I put it in these slides. So otherwise, it is not much problem if the dry spells are happening. Again, due to the environmental temperature in Jala season, you can expect more incidences of thrips, mites, and sometimes the mealybugs and hispas attack more. Because the brown plant hopper attack more because of dry spells. Nymphs and adults start scrubbing and eating the green surfaces. And if you want to easily identify whether this mite is there or not, if you are going there very closely, if you are identifying very minute net covered on the leaf surface, and it's an identification character, mite will be there. If you are putting under the hand lens or microscope, easily you can easily identify. The mite will be there. So this is also a small insect, but it's in bulk. Number of insect per group is very high. They are scraping and sucking the sap. Therefore, these leaves, green content will be affected. If the green material, the flag leaves is affected, then you will get the more yield losses. That's it. So scraping, webs you can see then under surfaces of the leaves. Right, under surfaces of the leaves, because this is for they're hiding the mechanism. That's how they are. So mites you can find in upper surfaces, they are hiding lower surfaces. After feeding, is a nest. So panicle mite or sheath mite. Another one is there, as the same Acarina, Stangiatothrips spinky. Right, Stangiatothrips spinky, different species, right? Stangiatothrips biform is, sorry, not Stangi, Stenotarsonimus. Stenotarsonimus spinky. Polyphagotarsonimus latus is there, Chilithrips. Stenotarsonimus spinky is there. Right? So maybe confused to you. Polyphagotarsonimus latus is an red spider mite. Stenotarsonimus spinky is a panicle mite or sheath mite. So sheath mite means so you can expect this nymphs and adult colonizers in a tillering stage at the sheath region. Right? Sheath region. So your sheath will become a brownish or blackish color due to the heavy feeding. This is sometimes florets. Right? While the booting stage is there, the floral stage, because they want to eat the hiding places, sheaths and florals just before opening might enter and eating the flora and ovary. Then there is no grind filling stages because it's unfertile. No abortion will happen in the grinds. The flowers, flower abortion is happen. You cannot expect the grind. That's how This is sometimes considered as an important pest. It's an emerging pest. We have to be very careful and we have to be monitored because of the environmental temperature. So these are the insect pests. I have to explain to you about the problem in Sri Lanka. Right, problem in Sri Lanka. Shade mite is an identification here. So therefore, if you are very clear on this pest, the pest biology, identification character, specific symptom, definitely you can go for an integrated pest management option. Individually you can take management, but as a whole pest, you can design an integrated pest management package. For the integrated management disease management package, integrated management package, so you have to decide all the environmental factors and other living organisms present in the rice, right? So therefore it is very important. So then for the identification of the rice ecosystem is very important to design an integrated pest management package, right? If you're taking a rice ecosystem, so you can expect other plants other than the rice also you can find. Animals, lot of animals you can find fauna. So flora you can find weedy rices, weeds, other plants, the bunds, main big plants, trees. So animals also you can find insects, spiders, vertebrates, rodents and snakes. Sometimes wild animals you can expect elephant and deer and wild boars. So insect also, pest will be there, productive insects will be there, and predators will be there, dragonflies, right? Ladybird beetles, spiders will be there. The microorganisms, endogonistic microorganism will be there, and the root promoting microorganisms there, rhizobacteria will be there, mycorrhizas will be there, pathogen will be there. So you have to consider all these biodiversities around the rice ecosystem before setting up an IP, right? So if you are considering all these things, then you can decide which tactic will be most suitable at the particular time, right? So therefore, I am proposing here the several management tactics for different insect pests. If you are taking consideration of the environment and the biodiversity, you are taking the most exact suitable tactics at the time, then easily you can manage that pest while at the minimized cost, right? So normally, so you can expect here the harvesting of the crop close to the soil surfaces, right? So earlier, if you cropped or if you planted rice, the time of harvesting, you have to completely cut at the ground surfaces. If you are not able to cut at the ground surfaces, immediately after harvesting, you have to plow it, dry the land and plow it, and flooding the land and again plow it, drain the water and plow it. This will help to minimize the breeding sites for the yellow stem borer. The yellow stem borer pupa will be there in the stubbles. It can emerge and it can cause the damage in the next season. So these grasshoppers laying eggs at the bund in the soil. So trimming your bunds and removing the soil cells and disturbing the soil cells, you are also removing and exposing the eggs. So you can easily minimize the grasshoppers attack main season. That's how grasshoppers attack is very less in Sri Lanka, because every time of harvesting, after the harvesting or before the sowing land preparation time, farmers are again and again trimming and rebuilding their bunds. So that will help not only the grasshoppers but also for the rodents. Rodents will be there. Grubs will be there. In some dry wetlands, grubs will be there. Not the grubs, crabs. Crabs also cutting some paddy plants while they are moving. And second one is the protection from your nursery pest. Protection from the nursery pest means you have to be very careful on the yellow stem borer and the thrips. And sometimes in the dry season, you can expect some mite attack and hispa beetle attacks. So if you are if you are preparing the nurseries, then you can take complete elimination of the pest eradication, because you are going to transfer this one to the main field now. So you have to close monitoring before just at the time of transplanting, just before moving the seedlings to the main field. You have to clip off all the leaves to minimize thrips, because thrips will be there in the top portion. So you got thrips. If you don't want to clip off, what you can do is you can wipe out the thrips by using the wetted cloths. And if you are finding any egg masses of the yellow stem borer, you can clip off and burn it. Right? So you can apply the root promoting bacteria. You can apply trichoderma. You can apply entomopathogenic fungi, Beauveria, Metarrhizum, and you can apply entomopathogenic viruses, NPVs, to prevent the attack of armyworms, any lepidopteran pests. So because in the nursery bed, you can give the conducive environment at the time, so you can easily manage this pest loads. Third, selection of the resistant variety and the disease-free planting material. Disease-free planting material, no problem, you can select. But the selected one may be high yielding, but may be the susceptible one to the pest. If you are suspecting in your areas the gold midge attack and the brown plant hopper attack, so there are some varieties developed by the Sri Lankan Rice Research Institutes from the donor sources. So PTB33 for brown plant, for PTB33 is an Indian variety. From that, the resistant genes transferred to BG379-2, BG300, BG403, BG304, BG357, Battalagoda, right? Battalagoda varieties. So many Battalagoda varieties, they have transferred this PTB33 resistant gene into our varieties. Therefore, they are giving the moderate resistant to brown plant hoppers. But these varieties are mainly 4 months, and some are only a few or 3 months. If the farmers in Ambara districts, selecting one of these varieties, they can easily minimize the results. But these varieties may not give high yield, but you can prevent the losses through the brown plant hopper, minimize the over application of these insecticides. The gold midge, the wetland areas. So gold midge also showing there are two biotypes. I earlier explained that when there are two biotypes present in Sri Lanka. From the resistance of the Indian, again in the Indian varieties, PTB18. So it's in Punjab universities developed varieties, Indian varieties. PTB18 and PTB21. From this resistant sources, they transferred the gene to BG304, BG357, BG359, and BG360. Right here, so the three varieties here, you can find it. The BG357, right, BG360, BG304, sorry, BG304. Right, these three varieties, if you are cultivating, then definitely you can get the resistant to gold midge as well. Gold midge biotype 2. Right? So only selection of one variety you can eliminate two pests. or minimize the incidences of two pests. In this way, you have to select the varieties. You have to select the varieties. So you can get the at least above average yield, not the maximum yield, above average yield, but you can minimize the cost of control. That's how you can get optimum level of profit. And also you can safeguard the environment. And that's how, in this way, if you are advising the farmers, definitely they can protect our environment from the pesticides. Right? So selection of resistant variety and selection of disease-free planting material. And application of carbofuran is a banned one, but you can use for the nursery beds in the seedling stages. Right? If the soil is problematic with nematode, you can use the carbofuran 200 gram per cent of nursery. Right? It's a cent of nursery means so half purchase of land you can use for water little bit, or minimize the yellow stem borer attack in the seedling stages and the this attack, nematode attack. But it is banned in Sri Lanka now. For last 5 years it has been banned, but earlier it was used as an insecticide and nematicides, both broad spectrum. And the nursery protection, I already told you, right? If your field is, if you are suspecting your field will be targeted by stem borers, yellow stem borer, brown plant hoppers, green leaf hoppers, and gold midge, definitely you should not go for the direct soil. You have to maintain the nursery at least a month. Once your seedling is staged at 3/4 more than 4 leaf stage, definitely you can, for the transplanting, definitely you can escape from the initial pest attack. That means altering the planting date. And the clipping of tip, I already informed you for the rice stem borer, thrips, and hispa, you can minimize it. And early planting, gold midge attack, that's what the earlier sentence also explained that one. So you have to maintain the nursery to minimize an optimum density, right? Formation of allele pathways in between the rows of a paddy cultivations. If you are maintaining or maybe 5 meter width you are planting, again you are allowing for the 30 centimeter or more than 30 centimeter to 90 centimeter a gap, no plant zone. Then again another strip of rice for paddy. If you are cultivating like that, definitely you can spraying the basal sprays for aerial or photo spraying. If you are spraying aerial spray, sometimes it can harm the spiders. Right? If you are just giving only root zone, right? So you can minimize the loss of the spiders. Only you can treat the root eating insect. And also you can easily pass the rows without damaging the tillers. Right? So ropes you can easily pass. And avoiding excess dose of nitrogen. The problem in Sri Lanka is excess usage of nitrogen fertilizers. The farmers are, because it's available in subsidy schemes now, without considering the recommended dosage, farmers, whatever they want, they thinking they want, they apply. If they are applying this high dose of nitrogen, the plant will become very tall. It will fall, for the one case, in economic point of view. In other way, the plant will become more succulent. The plant will become more droopy leaves. The chances for the brown plant hoppers and the leaf hoppers build up. Proper drainage of water. I told you, brown plant hopper attack at the water level, water plant interaction point. So if you are just flooding the land and drain the land, definitely you are minimizing, right? Minimizing the brown plant hopper, and also you are removing, you can able to remove these case worms, right? You can easily remove your case worms. And if there is an armyworm, easily you can dislodge it. And weed management. Some pests, they are choosing the wheat as an alternate host. While you are spraying the chemicals, it will fly and sit on the wheat and again come. In the paddy field, you can expect so many weeds: Cyperus rotandus, Cyperus, Iria, Cyperus rotandus, and Panicum repens, Panicum maximum, right? Brachyria brachyantha. These are so many grasses are there. These grasses sometimes it's look like the paddy, rice, right? So if you are not managing properly, if you are allowing the weeds to grow at the bunds or very closer to the not cultivated area of the paddy field, so you are giving an opportunity to build up that pests. So you have to be very careful. Weed management is very important to minimize the many pest incidences, especially hoppers and some lepidopterans. And monitoring the pest and external, natural enemy populations. So normally trichogramma, you have to monitor it. Trichogramma, the trichogramma is not present, definitely you have to inundate, right? Accumulate and time to time release. So in the transplanting time, if you are releasing, right, so more than 20,000 per acre like this, so it can build up and it can easily manage the yellow stem borer. It can attack eggs of the insect pests. Trichogram. Time to time application of the trichoderma. Time to time application of the entomopathogenic fungi. Because in the rice cultivation, water will be there. The water will be there, I mean it will give proper RH, proper temperature to develop and multiply these entomopathogenic fungi and bacteria. They can able to control very easily these pests than the other crops. Other crops you are not cultivating in high water conditions, right? In the paddy only you are cultivating in the water flooded rice cultivation, right? So therefore easily biocontrol agent will work. Time to time you can also using botanical pesticides, neem seed kernel extracts, neem oil attack. So this will disturb the physiology of the larva, then larva will not molt and to become an adult, right? The community approach, rodent attacks, from the household, the rodents will come by boring the land, especially the bandicoot is a very big problem in some rice cultivated areas in the just before harvesting. They are cutting all panicle and pulling them into their nests, so creating losses. So community approach is needed because all the people should control at the same time. Otherwise, it's very difficult because they are in the underground, subterranean vertebrates, right? Subterranean vertebrates, and also the wild animals, deers and elephants nowadays very big problem in many part of Sri Lanka because you have encroached their habitats. Forest, we have cleared the forest, we have encroached it. They need food. Even in the Noralia district nowadays, we have time to time. So Sita, the people are killing. Sitas are coming inside for the food. Accidentally, these rare animals, the people are killing. This wild and man and the wild animal war is happening now. Why? This is because of mismanagement. That's how we are emphasizing to go for an IPM to minimize this pest attack to below the economic damage or economic injury level. So if not these other aspects are not working, you can go for an insecticide. These are the insecticide different groups recommended for the paddy cultivation in Sri Lanka. Different groups. So you can find the first group is organophosphorus, diazinon 5% granule, diazinon 500 gram. This is the pest name. Shortened form is elaborated inside, right? The pest name here RWM. RWM is mean rice wall maggot. RGM, it's an RGM mean rice gall mitch. RSB mean rice stem borers. So this is, it can work as a systemic one. So it can kill it. Diazinon and diazinon 500. And carbamate, this is organophosphorus, very dangerous. Carbamates are also very dangerous, but some extent you have to use it. No, otherwise sometimes it will not work. Carbosulfan and fenvocarb. Carbosulfan and fenvocarb for TH. Here thrips. Phenoburocarb is for BPH, brown plant hoppers. So neonicotinoids. Neonicotinoids is, so this is fifth generation chemicals. They are not much harmful, but they are, people are using nowadays very prominently for the sucking insects, especially thrips and brown plant hoppers. Imidacloprid, acetamiprid, right? Different for granular form and vegetable powder forms, right? So granular, vegetable form. Other than so, phenyl pyrazole, another group, phenyl pyrazole. Fipronil. Fipronil and imidacloprid more or less same, but different chemical groups. And another, insect growth regulators also you can use. Insect growth regulators are very good. It's not much harmful to the human being and other insects. So buprofensin, right? So not bufopenzin. Novaluron, right? Chlorofluorine means so RFLP. So rice leaf holders and brown plant hoppers you can use, and botanicals also you can use. Rice leaf holder as a directive. Some acaricides also you can. So if it is a mite attack is there, sulfur is a good acaricides. Sulfur. Fenipyrenomex for feniproximide, right? So these are the chemicals you can use if needed in minimized amount. But our farmers are choosing this one as a first choice, right? So chemicals are the first choice for their cultivations. That's how the government of Sri Lanka now it's developing the Mahavali F zones of the Udavalava scheme. They are going to develop Mahavali F zone as a purely organic agriculture producing zones. So some criticisms are there, but this proposal is very good because from that zone even they can start and slowly build up in organic agriculture continuously. Initially they will face very big problem. I know that, because if the adjacent zones farmers are cultivating, spraying chemicals, definitely all the pests will come in this F zone and it can attack. But as an introduction of organic agriculture in Sri Lanka, this proposal is very good to produce organic foods, right, without any chemicals. Then they can get the certificate, organic agriculture certificate. They can export in high prices in European markets and US markets and Oceanian markets and other Asian markets. And also even the people who own in organic, preferred organic foods, they can consume, but the prices will be high compared to other things. So that's how this is the insect pest of rice. So insect, I have to summarize this one, insect pest of rice. So you can classify it into three major groups. One is the stem borer groups. In the stem borer groups, you can expect yellow stem borer and the gall mitch. Another groups are leaf feeders. The leaf feeders you can expect more than 6-7 pests. So 2 or 3 are very important, economically important leaf feeders are the leaf folder, Nephrocrosis medinalis, wall maggot, Hydrilla sesaki, and swarming caterpillars or armyworms, Spodoptera frugivera. These are the very important one. Other than that, you can also expect the leaf feeders, rice hispa beetle, Daclydispa armigira, the greenhorn caterpillars, Melanitis ledasmine, rice skipper, Philophaedius Matthias, right? So these are some giving the moderate level of incidences, providing moderate level of damages, and time to time giving the damages are grasshoppers, and sometimes some at places you can expect other than the insect pest, rodents and carnivorous animals, while cattle and goats, they are also making the incidents. So these are, we call it as a leaf feeders or live case worm also, the leaf feeders. So this another category of group of insect, we call it as a sap feeders. Third group, sap feeders. Under sap feeders, the problematic is a thrips, Stanchiatothrips biformis. So from the nursery to harvest, it can inflict damages in any stages of rice cultivation. Another very important one is in brown plant hopper. They are also sucking the sap and transmitting the viruses, causing the hopper burn in few potential rice cultivated areas, pockets, due to the conducive environmental condition and over application of these fertilizers and using the susceptible cultivars as a monoculture. Another sap feeder is a rice earhead bug, Leptocoryza oratorius. These are damaging the economically important part of the rice. These three sap feeders are very important and economically you have to consider. Other than that, leaf hoppers, green leaf hoppers, white leaf hoppers, zigzag leaf hoppers, orange head leaf hoppers. These hoppers are not much important unless they are transmitting the viruses. If they are transmitting the viruses, then severe yield losses can happen. So you have to be careful. You have to take monitoring properly. You have to take nowadays the increasing environmental temperature and high dosage of nitrogen application can build up these leaf hoppers and transmit the viruses. Once the virus is transmitted from one field to all the field, it will be transmitted by these hoppers. Another category of mealybugs. The mealybugs is not much problem in Sri Lanka. And mites, nowadays these pest incidences are increasing bit and bit due to the environmental temperature. Leaf mite and the sheath mites. So these are the insect pests. So under the three different categories you have studied, and then finally you studied how you can manage this pest by application of integrated pest management tactics. So all the tactics, exclusion, cultural, physical, biological, botanical, and as a last resort, you can use also the chemicals. Before this application or implementation of any tactics, you have to think about the environment and the biodiversity, the flora and the fauna, and the impact of these tactics. If you are considering and developing the best IPM package, it can help to minimize your insect pest incidences in the rice at the lower case or at the lower cost, then the farmers or the producers can get optimum profit. Don't go for a maximum, optimum profit while minimizing the damaging of the environment and the ecosystem and the biodiversity. Right? So thank you very much for all for hearing for the listening of this insect pest of rice. If you want to ask any questions, you can ask. So from the next class, I will continue as an the diseases of rice.